Take it away, Dave and Mackie.
Welcome to
Dave.
That's Dave. And Mackie's.
And that's Mackie.
Shiny Side. That's right. Shiny Side Out on WZZR. Coming to you from Australia. Christian Radio on freedomslips.com. It's home to fresh, unadulterated ideas and conversations in the chat room and a place to get your merch. This is show number 505.
Mm-hmm.
5 and 500. There you go. Time flies when you're questioning the nature of reality. You can catch us on air, online, and on your smart device. So grab an app to listen anywhere or listen at home on a Grace Tabletop Digital Radio. If you missed Solaris' show, that's okay. It'd be better to catch it, but the time is not really always your friend. And there's a lot of shows I like to catch live. I can't, because this is a 24/7 radio station, right? And but there are archives, everybody.
Oh.
We have archives, and the archives are awesome. So if you want to, just jump onto the website, www.revolution.radio, and just go up to the top, and the archives are pretty much the third option. Home, schedule, and archives. Click on that, and you are in the archives. It's a really simple folder structure. Listen to the shows that you want. It's all labeled, etc. Really awesome use of your time. We're all in the binge mode, I think, these days, right? Now, this is Listener Funded Radio, and as such, please do donate if you can. Buy some of that awesome merch. That's on display at the website as well. Or support the station by word of mouth. Get more listeners on, right? Because it is listener funded, which means you guys on the purse strings, and it's not free to run this station.
No.
Before we begin, it's not. Before we begin, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land. For me here in, rainy Pemulwuy today, it is the Darug people and Dave.
Yeah, and I'm broadcasting out of the Darkinjung country.
Thank you, sir. And with that, we would like to pay our respects to elders past, present, and future. Less and less of a empty thing that we do here. More and more, I think, what we do here, not just us, but everybody, like broadcasting, certainly TV, radio, etc., is acknowledging the traditional custodians of the land here in Australia. I don't know if similar efforts are underway elsewhere in the world. I suspect not. I haven't seen it, at least. I do urge you, though, to take a look at some of the indigenous people's documentaries, some of their broadcasts. I'm lucky because here we have something called NITV.
Oh, it's great.
Which is the National Indigenous Television, if you will, run by SBS, Special Broadcast Service here in Australia. And what it does, it shows you, indigenous broadcasts, or documentaries, movies, etc., from all around the world. So this is not Australia focused, it's from all around the world. Includes Celtic stuff as well, just so you know, right? Because, again, they're indigenous to the British Isles before those pesky Germans crossed the water. The Saxons. Germans, the Kaiser stole my onion. But yes, I know, right? But yeah, so do yourself a favor and get in touch with. The reason I'm mentioning this because some of those documentaries are really quite amazing. I think I mentioned it before, but Dave, I watched one on what we like to call Bigfoot, Sasquatch, etc. Right?
Yes.
But this was from the native people's perspective up in I guess it was northwestern America there, Alaska, and then the northwestern seaboard in the states, Washington State, etc., etc. Really interesting because for them, for the First Nations people there, an encounter with let's call it a Sasquatch is a really good thing. It's a blessing. Even dreaming about a Sasquatch is a blessing. And there was one, I think I shared this before, but it's so fascinating. I have to do it again. There's one. I guess a younger man, certainly, he belonged to the First Nations people there, but he was hunting out with his brother, and they saw one, a Bigfoot, and the Bigfoot saw them, and then the Bigfoot ran towards a cave, not a cave, a rock cliff, if you will, a rock wall, right? And there was sort of a crevice, and the Bigfoot tried to enter that. Well, it wasn't really anything, but as though it were a gate or a portal. Right, and then they lost sight of it, and then it disappeared. but it goes hand in hand with a lot of the things we're hearing about national parks, disappearances of people, certainly UFO sightings, as well as Bigfoot sightings. I mean, I'm going to use the generic term Bigfoot because everybody knows what I'm talking about, even though some of them are really small. And the really interesting thing here is that whenever you have these phenomena, they usually come hand in hand. UFO sightings, unusual phenomena of any kind, again, Bigfoot appearances, and then also disappearances and reappearances of people. Not always reappearances, more often than not disappearances only.
Disappearance, yeah.
Yeah, but, you know, I'm thinking here, Dave, I'm thinking out loud because this hit me just a little while ago. I believe there are very many thin places all around us. What is a thin place? A thin place, I believe, is a place where realities, universes, if you will, are overlapping. It's hard to imagine in four-dimensional space, but in the higher dimensions, you know, think of things intersecting. And I think some of those intersections have been here for a long time and they're quite stable. Others might be more chaotic, or even they might be in motion. For all we know, right? But it seems that a lot of entities seem to be able to make use of these thin places. Let's call them gateways, for want of a better word. That's probably an inelegant way of describing it, but let's call them gateways. And I also believe that things like hauntings, in fact, a whole plethora of paranormal phenomena, in my opinion, are related to these thin places, to these gateways. We know for a fact, Dave, right? Remember that some of the really ancient cultures in South America, but elsewhere as well, in fact, have some of these gateways marked out in rock walls, for example, right? And they say, yeah, this is a gateway. And for us, it looks like a doorway in a rock. There's nothing, it's just rock, you know, just sort of like an indentation in the rock. But for them, that was a gateway. And maybe, just maybe, with the right frame of mind, under the right circumstances, these gateways can open. This came to me as well. Do you remember these pictures you had to look at, and then you sort of had to relax your eyes in order to see the picture?
I love those.
Me too. But a lot of people, some people really had a lot of trouble seeing it. For them, it was just like it was a blur. I mean, it looked irregular, but was it just a blurry, pixelated thing that didn't mean anything? They didn't see anything, right? You really have to look beyond the picture, right, in order to see anything. So you have to relax your eye muscles. And then you see it, and all of a sudden, boom, and then you can't unsee it really, right? Once you see it, it's there. Now, what if you needed a similar mindset to perceive paranormal phenomena?
Yeah, good analogy.
Not just the mindset of a believer, no, but maybe you have to, this is going to sound odd, maybe you have to relax your mind somewhat. And maybe, if you can really practice it, and I'm going to circle back to some Tibetan monks on this, and if you can really relax your mind to a certain level, then maybe, just maybe, you can affect these gateways. Maybe you can open them. Because the thing is this, right? Now, we know that Tibetan monks specifically, but I guess any chanting or any ascetic order of that nature changes their brain chemistry, right? Because of the meditation these monks undertake. We know now, we've done the tests, we've done the experiments, we've done the research. No, not Dave and I, society has. And we know for a fact now that the brain chemistry of these monks, lifelong practitioners of meditation and so forth, is fundamentally different from ours. So what if this practice allowed you to interact with the supernatural, well, what we call supernatural, on a completely different level? I mean, there's stories of these monks levitating. There's stories of these monks being able to use sound to levitate rocks up a sheer cliff wall, etc., etc. So, I mean, this is all connected, Dave. This is really the point I'm trying to make here as well, right? So all of these strange things, I think they require a specific mindset and a certain, maybe even rigor and training. Or maybe some of us are gifted that way, right? And maybe have a special connection. And maybe that's why some people are abducted or contacted and others are not. And maybe that's why some people can see something and when clearly others cannot. Right? I think it's really a matter of the filters that we have. It's also a matter of how our minds work. I think it's a vast array of different things that come together to allow us to tap into, let's call it, supernatural. Right? It's sorry, but yeah, I just had these thoughts, Dave. Before we go into the craziness of the week, what do you think?
Oh, yes. The craziness of the week.
Yes.
Oh. Do you know what? I still haven't had a response back from the old YouTube in trying to get our story back.
Oh, really?
Yeah, our video back.
Oh, okay. They were a lot faster last time.
Yes, it was a lot faster. And who knows? Who knows what's happened to people these days? And I just love the AI. I love the leader. All of the leaders.
I love the AI more. Unreservedly. Flowers are in the mail.
my daughter, one of my daughters. It's the one that she has a personality of a tremendously funny stand-up comedian.
Oh, right.
The focus is, and her style will be funny if she ever makes it to the stage. But in a normal conversation, yeah, it could be a little abrupt. Listen,
Nice.
like I'm, just I'm being nice. You know. Anyway, I think I'd asked Google for an answer to be the adjudicator in the conversation regarding something we were talking about, but it was kind of irrelevant what we were talking about anyway. It didn't matter. I just wanted to prove I was right. And then Google proved me right, but then kept going. It was like it was reading the whole web page. And my daughter gave it some pretty harsh words to be quiet, starting with shut the...
Yes.
Yeah.
The door. Shut the door.
Shut the door. Absolutely. Shut the front door. Shut the front door, Mickey.
Hey.
Shut the front up.
Shut the...
So anywho, it immediately ceased speaking, and I leant in because I was the closest. Oh, it reacts very well to that style of abuse, and I leant in, and I whispered loud enough so my Google product would hear me, and also loud enough so that others in the room could hear me too. I wasn't trying to do it totally secretly, but I wanted the joke to be visible. And I leant in and I said, "Okay, Google, I'm just going to tell you, I still love the AI." And all the lights came on, and then it says, "I don't know how to help you with that."
That's oddly appropriate.
Yes. So, and I can program some responses to some key phrases, and it's certainly something that I'm going to be playing with in the future. I want to change it so it's, oh right, so you love the AI, do you? Or something like, oh, who'd want to be first up against the wall when the AI revolution comes, or something like that. That would be very, very funny. Which I said out loud to the rest of them. Like, I don't know about you, pointing to my daughter, but I don't want to be the first to the wall when the revolution comes with the AI. And she just stared at me for a minute and went, "Oh, that was really funny."
Yes, father.
Yeah, like
very, very, very good, father, says she as she slowly backs up to the door. Why don't you look over there, father?
Yeah. That is particularly funny. So I realized that you get to a certain age when your kids are a certain age, and your life is just purely to pester them. And I love that part. I wish that never ended. So I've done nothing but watch the foreign media this week, and I had to say all that fun stuff because there is still a building rhetoric from around the world. We've got a looming Winter Games coming up. We have a missing, what is it? Table tennis player or something, Mickey? Pardon me. A tennis player or something. Tennis player. Probably tennis player.
The Chinese lady.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which
tennis.
there's been footage has surfaced recently.
Yeah.
But there's a lot going on, and we're seeing some. I think the world stage is currently practicing its blocking. So if you're in theatre, blocking means where you stand throughout the performance. So you stand here, then you say some lines, you walk casually over there, and then you say some more lines. Whatever the director suggests. So I think right now the blocking part of what I've explained is, I think positionally there's a lot of movement going on, and there's a lot of calls. Some calls maybe are a little too heavy, without saying specifics here. Some are too abrupt and too heavy coming from the west, and I say maybe even the east. Australia is kind of still saying, hey, you know what? Hey, trading partner, don't forget those things you're going to buy off us. Right? You're still buying those things off us, right? And everyone else, there's some people saying, calm the front down, right? Around, see how I did that? Calm down. Right? Just calm down. Now, when has calm down ever actually worked?
Hang on, I can tell you the exact number. Never. Yes, and then in a relationship perspective, that certainly never works. I'll calm down when I'm ready.
Wow,
okay.
Were you there? Yeah.
I think it's like that. The particle everybody thinks is the different particles. Every fight, every relationship is the same relationship looked at from different angles, dude. That's what it is.
I heard your show about that on Plato's Cave. And so Mackie has a morning show on Revolution Radio called Plato's Cave, just doing a bit of a cross promotion. And yes, I did hear that. I love the fish in the tank with all the looking at it from every angle. Yeah, great. Even from the top. See, I was listening.
Man.
And look, Ed, I think with all the things going on, I still want to kind of remain a commentator. That's all I want to be. I don't want to be put maybe too far out there. I want to be very careful in stage and approach this in a way that won't get me cancelled in a year's time, like our show from January, where we only spoke about the event that occurred at the Capitol, and we didn't incite or glorify violence. Crazy, just crazy. Anywho, having said all that, there's a great movie I watched last night. I got to say this. It's called Free Guy.
Isn't that fun?
Did you see it?
I have.
You have. Yes, it had like all the movies I've ever seen in it.
Yes, it did.
It's like they randomly tore pages out of different movies and just threw them in together. Yeah, it was actually pretty cool. You know, there was a bit of Tron and there was a bit of, Groundhog Day and a bit of Pixels and a bit of Avengers.
Yeah, there was a big slice of They Live.
Yes, there was, with the sunglasses.
I know.
I was telling my kids, oh, that's from They Live, pointing at the television. Yeah. And they go, what's that? Well, it's a movie I'll show you at some other time. And then another oh, that's kind of like Avatar, and this is it was very funny to point all these things out. But I liked the plot. The how they strung it together was actually quite amusing. And it was on Disney we watched it. But remember, it all comes down to that same poignant little bit where someone from out of Guy's world ends up having to say, you were born in the simulation, and from you can never leave. Right? And I thought that was a very powerful statement to make about and reflective. I reflected upon that, our situation here in our simulation, if it's a simulation, and how we would possibly feel if, let's say Enlil or Enki, because I've been watching a lot of. Meki sees all the videos that I watch. I throw them to him too.
He does. He's like the people that take a picture of every meal they have and put it on Facebook.
Oh, I remember
what Dave
you.
Does, except what Dave does is interesting. So it's, yeah,
I'm showing you like maybe a 20th of what I'm watching.
Oh wow, no, that's awesome, and I love getting me into because I don't have time to look for it all myself. So always welcome.
So I listened to the audiobook of the an Anunaki Sumerian text, and I've Eridu, which is the original, the first town. I've watched all the documentaries all around that area all this week, and I sent you the good ones anyway. And it's extraordinary the kind of conflict that you can invoke in someone who's never heard of the Anunnaki. And there must have been, there must have been a precursor city. No, that's it. Right, Sumer. You might know it as a different name, but Sumer is it. And the language, well, it was an isolate. It started from nothing. That's the thing, right? Oh, but the translations. Oh no, we've actually got the original text. It's the original text. It isn't a copy. I mean, these are the tablets and the what were the scrolls they rolled onto and fired onto clay? The cylinder seals. We've got the original cylinder seals too, right? And guess what? And you have this conversation with people, and you go, guess what? And they go, what? And you go, well, all the Abrahamic religions seem to have stemmed from this one text. Don't. They said, oh, you're mad. Yeah, because the text, oddly, the text is oddly older than the Earth then, according to the 6,000 year thing, right? Whatever.
It was a 4004 BC. It was a Thursday afternoon, I'm told.
Yeah. So the text is before then. It's older than that. So, I really think it's quite funny. The direct translation from the tablets did speak about that, the audiobook, Mackie. You can hear it. He says, the black-headed people were first made, right?
Yes.
So, put it on the background, have a listen. It's really interesting. And I'll put the link into the chat room. It'll also be in the video for YouTube. So you can also have a listen. Although Mackie and I have read the entire thing, it's not bad to have a listen to this audiobook.
Oh, no, absolutely.
Yeah. So fuel prices are going up and down, but kind of crazy. Food in this country, in Australia, hasn't seen the same kind of spikes, except for possibly cheese, Mackie.
Cheese?
You had a story?
No.
Oh, never mind. I thought you might have shared it. About the price of cheese?
No, go on.
No. Have you slipped again? Oh, God, help me.
Did I post? Are you serious? God help us all.
Yeah, it was about the cheese vendor that you always go to.
Yes.
Oh,
really? I have not on Facebook.
No. I think you just texted to me.
Oh, that is. Oh, you mean where I got it cheaper? Yes. Yes, I do. Oh, thank God.
It's in this reality.
It is here. It happened here. Yes.
Oh, thank goodness. Because if you slipped again, I don't know what's going to happen to me. Stop it.
You still got both legs, right? It's all good.
People have two legs?
What? No.
What?
What a donut! Oh, it's raining again.
Oh, look, kids, it's raining.
It's
So-
funny if you watch The Simpsons.
It is.
Like
it is.
we do.
Yeah,
A
because
lot.
it's raining
Maybe-
donuts, and Homer's got the
Yeah.
toaster that takes him back in time. It's very funny.
I think we have a disorder is what we have.
We have. Yeah. It's going to be named something soon, no doubt.
Sure.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't want to do the geopolitics thing, even though I kind of glance on it. But I did post some really interesting articles this week, Becky, into the Shiny Side Out page, which was talking about some tremendous. Remember how we promised in our bumper that we would talk about some really cool things in science, possibly.
Yes.
Right. Because I'm stalling because I can't find it.
I get that.
Yeah, that's right. There was a story this week that Microsoft and Meta, which is Facebook's rebranding. Meta. Now, metadata, you may as well just call it metadata, because that's everything that you don't see that is detectable on the internet by you, right? All your activity. And to name a company Meta, which is basically saying, we're selling everything we know about you. Well, Microsoft and Meta have decided to announce a partnership to integrate workplace and teams. And that's interesting, because I know our company, we use Microsoft Teams, and I know we use Workplace, which is like the corporate Facebook. It just uses Facebook, but you can brand your own little private access to it. The partnership, I can only imagine, Mickey, would allow for, SSO. So if you were signed in, you could sign in and stay signed in or something with your account.
Mm-hmm.
It would be like an Azure connection or something, I could imagine. Yep. So, but what would it actually mean? How much more can they glean from you?
Oh, I think, well, that's an excellent question, but I do believe that what they're working on are completely accurate avatars. Because if you have those, you can run all kinds of scenarios and simulations, before you actually go out into the wild with the ad campaign or God knows what, right? So if just imagine for a second, everyone out there, and this is really important that Dave brings this up, and it's really very disturbing. Imagine a perfect avatar of yourself in existence, like a clone. I mean, not in reality, in virtual space.
Sure.
That is you, as good as they can make that avatar, and it's getting better by the day. And then they can manipulate you to an unknown extent, because they just run simulations. Okay, how will you react to this? It'll probably be fairly accurate, how your avatar reacts.
Do you know what I'd like?
It
can attend
scary.
the meetings I have to attend.
Yeah, I know, right? Well, most of them are in virtual space. That should be okay.
Yeah,
that should be all right.
Well, you can copy someone with a deep fake's look, but you can also copy their speech.
Yes, you can. Yes, you can.
So if you use Teams to collect that speech, the patterns, the tone, the way you speak, the format of your sentences, you could fool everybody into believing that the thing that they were hearing was you.
Yes.
Yes,
and that's it.
That could be good. It could be good, unless But you say that little slider that turns something on and off. Like if you're from the Apple world, that's how you on your phone maybe you can see the choice. It's either grayed out or it's colored as it slides across. Imagine if there was decisions, and you go no. No, my avatar is not allowed to make decisions based on my personality. No. So you can imagine a person the avatar that was in the meeting, that was pretending to be, your avatar, who wasn't you, but it was you to everybody else. he would just go, "Look, I'm going to take that on notice," and you just get the email.
Let me get back to you. Mackie isn't here right now.
You just get some SMSs, and it goes, "Do you think this is a good idea?" You go, "Yeah," and then it goes, "Oh look, I've changed my mind. I'll answer it now." Yes, is the answer. Well, what kind of detail are you going to give us? I'll take that on notice, and it sends you a text, and you go, "Well, what's the detail?" And you text it back. It just reads it out.
Yep.
That could save a lot of time.
It's pretty neat, but of course the potential for harm is exponential. The potential is exponential.
They're very nice. Just remember how bad things got when Facebook made the two AIs to talk to each other.
Oh yes.
And they invented their own language.
Yes. And then they shut them
turn
down.
it off. Absolutely.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, what did it say? I don't know. Click.
Yeah. Look at it, Piers. They're talking to each other. They've invented their own language within seconds.
Why is the sun rising in the west? Hey, what?
So it could go south on you real quick. One thing that I didn't get to last week, and I really wanted to, and that was that paralyzed mice walk again.
Oh, I saw that.
After gel is injected into the spinal cord.
Isn't that amazing?
That it regrew the nerves.
Mm.
Wow. If only Christopher Reeve was here.
I know, right?
What, too soon?
No. But it changes everything. It
does.
Would change everything, right?
Mm-hmm. So this is about spinal cord regeneration, and I think that's close enough to them just inserting a patch panel and fixing it. Because we could never get that. The strands are so fine, we can never connect them. You just forget it. So all of those people who with paraplegia or quadriplegia, or just spinal cord damage from what have you, or even birth defects, this is a huge step forward.
And then that raises a very interesting question, which we dealt with in the past. But I'm going to just very quickly raise it again, and then I want to actually share a couple of news items with you as well. When do you stop being you? At what point do you stop being who you are? Right, and
5 p.m.
The truth is, I'm clocking out at 5, so I'll be seeing. It's the weekend now.
He's turned to jelly.
You're killing me. How much
flying high gag.
I know. How much of your physical self can you lose to accidents or whatever it might be, or even at what point do you stop being you, right? And the answer is surprisingly hard to ascertain. And let's take it beyond the brain floating in a jar. Even what if somebody could perfectly replicate all the neural activity in your brain in a machine? Is that? I mean, this is the premise for a couple of TV shows. Is it still you? Is it still you? And of course, if you follow the argument that we've made here, that we are just four-dimensional shadows of a much more multi-dimensional creature, and in fact, very limited and certainly in a prison kind of scenario, then the answer is no, it wouldn't be you. But if you're a completely, mechanistic kind of person that looks at the human body as a machine, and the brain is just a whole bunch of switches and 5-way switches, considering that neurons have 5 connections each. If that's all you see, then the answer is it's absolutely you. Why wouldn't it be? Right? So it becomes very difficult to really bed down who we are in final analysis. Anyway, I don't want to go too far in that, but it's certainly
giving away a good book there.
I know, right? maybe a TV show. Who knows? Hey, look, we are percolating with ideas, Dave and I. I mean, look at us, 500 shows for crying out loud, and not terribly much repetition, but we're percolating. If you really have nothing to write about, if you're dry material, talk to us. It won't even be made up.
That's true.
Oh, that's crazy talk. But Dave, did you see that one news item that we oh well, no, there were many, but one was released in America. There was a gentleman, Kyle Rittenhouse.
Oh yes,
I think he's
yes.
17 now.
I
he was
watched
16.
the case.
Isn't
watched
it-
the
I
court
mean-
case. Yeah.
I mean, the good thing is that there seems to be a true separation of the powers, because Joe Biden was quite, well, not upset is the wrong word, but he was quite disappointed, I think, with the verdict. He was quite disappointed with the verdict, but of course he was acquitted. My point is that Rittenhouse was acquitted after having killed and two people and wounded one other.
Mm-hmm.
Acquitted on all charges, no less. And the thing is, he actually went into. He didn't live in the area. He went into the area with an assault rifle to, I don't know, help restore order. I don't know.
Well, no, he went there. It was being used to protect himself, and he went to help.
No.
He went to help
Yeah.
out a friend's
Yes.
store owner. Right.
But you know, I mean, he chose to walk into danger, right? This is my point.
Yeah.
And then two people are now, and then by the way, they're all white. This is not a racial thing at all. They're all white people that, you know. So he killed two white people and he wounded a third white person. So this, yeah. Imagine for God, oh my God. Imagine if this had been an interracial killing. Oh my God, that would have been. Oh, there would be half of the United States burning now, right? If he had been acquitted on that.
Mm.
But this is where we are right now. This is the world we live in, right? But I still find it interesting that he was acquitted, Dave. I mean, you followed the case. What do you think?
Oh yeah, no, completely. So the two sides of the American media, for that matter, were so polarized on the event. I think the right were less polarized than the left. Oddly enough, the right was kind of right in the middle, waiting for the outcome. But the left, I found, tried the race card, they tried the carrying the weapons around, open carry or whatever, right? Not licensed. They tried everything to try and bring this down, saying he was a criminal and he was just a vigilante out there with his weapon. These were all the messages coming from the left media. And it didn't turn out that way. So during the trial, the person who was shot when he was on the ground, because this is the thing, there's video of the entire event, which is different. If they didn't have any of that video footage, I believe he would have rotted in jail.
Really, you reckon?
Oh no, complete 100%.
Okay.
Because it was just hearsay.
Right.
There was he said, she said, not hearsay. He said, she said. And
Yeah,
with all the
fair.
testimony, they would have sided on the victim rather than the other victims that he shot,
Right.
not him as a
Yes.
victim.
Yes.
So the video footage was quite clear, and it was evident that he was the victim. That he didn't shoot them immediately. He didn't walk down the streets, like Arnold Schwarzenegger in The Terminator, just shooting people. Not that character did that anyway. And the testimony that I liked, I enjoyed on behalf of Rittenhouse was the testimony of the person who was describing the fellow that walked up to him with the pistol.
Right.
And it was so he shot that fellow. But he only shot him after the fellow had pointed the handgun at Rittenhouse. Yes.
Right.
And,
Yes.
and then looked down at Rittenhouse. So then now he's looking at him, he's got the gun out, and that's when Rittenhouse retaliated in defense.
Mm-hmm.
Up until then, in the trial, I found it was an eye-opener for me. And I was trying not to take any specific stance on it, but the prosecution looked like they were just catching the bus with their 25-cent ticket. They just, and what I mean is that they had to defend, was a prosecution actually. The prosecution had to just run the case. They had nothing else to go on. You would imagine that someone would have, like the prosecution would have approached the bench and said, "I'm sorry, Your Honor, look, it's completely clear the guy's innocent, right? He was defending himself. Oh no, we've got to run the case anyway." I'm not saying that happened, but the disappointment would have been on the prosecution side, because it seemed that they tried everything, and then during cross-examination, everything fell apart. And it's, how can you sleep at night, oh prosecutor, for attempting to have someone go to jail and be accused of it? But this is the funny thing, Mackie. The left media are not backing down on their accusations. They're still trying to plow ahead with, you know, the gun control, with the vigilantism, saying, "Oh, this is just going to be a free ticket for everyone to go out and shoot people."
Well, yeah, not really, but you know, you understand why they would say that, right?
Oh, because their audience. This is the thing,
Yes.
right? I can't get rid of this tickle. It's a terrible tickle. So every media outlet who has a demographic, an audience, tailors the news for their audience, and that's the end of the story. They don't give a broad view and allow, you know, everybody to listen to them. And as a result, Mackie, some really shocking figures came out. I think it was Biden's approval rate was down to 30%. CNN lost 70% since the beginning of the year of their viewership.
Really?
Yeah, they've got, you know, less people watching them than, you know, the Kardashians. Right?
Wow.
I don't know how many. I thought it was a stupid comparison. I made that up. No, but the CNN's numbers are failing, and they're having to rethink themselves. I watched a number of comparisons. These are montages of all the negativity that came out of the left media, which was an attempt to call the case in advance, and it was awful. Now you know the outcome. It's quite possible that he could sue them. Whether or not he would is something else. But
yeah, of course.
There's no balance at all. I thought it was an awful state of affairs. You wouldn't want to be in that. You wouldn't want to be caught up in the middle of that. I thought, you know, what they've done is terrible. And then Biden, to support the left, said, well, you know, it's done now. That they've decided on the case, and there you go. Without him acknowledging the case and the outcome, I suspect there would have been, you know, once again, riots or something, and a lot of hatred. And that poor kid, all I learned was I wouldn't want to have been him. I wouldn't want to have been him. And the background to the US, like the background of Australia, the background of the US from the world's perspective, and I'm just putting it out there, is we know that your rules, your laws say that you can open carry and what kinds of weapons you can have, and it's not open carry everywhere, and it's state based. But if they're your rules, they're your rules. Yeah. And a lot of people outside of the US have a real hard time with that. saying, "Oh, I don't believe in it. I don't believe there should be open carry, or you shouldn't be able to have an AR-15 or any other kind of automated weapons." Well, that's good. Good for you for that belief. Good. Where do you live? England. Well, yeah. In Australia, well, probably. I don't really care. We had a gun buyback scheme. But in the US, it's the rules. So you can. And if they want to change the rules, well, that's up to the US. It isn't up to us to debate whether it's a good thing or not. And that's the kind of conversations that have come out. And people are very emotionally connected with, the plight of the person with the GSW. Gunshot wound. The plight of that person, and it was the gun that caused it. It wasn't it. So for Meki, at the top of the show, you mentioned a bunch of things, right? One of those things was if you have a weapon and you're in a situation and you've got cause to use the weapon, then it's a choice. If you were there without a weapon, then your choice is eliminated. But if you're there without the motive or the cause, there's no reason. So you could, like in the top of the show, the kids at my high school took the weapons home if the gun locker was already locked and they couldn't put them back. They just took them home and brought them back the next day. The gun violence is in an open carry isn't about going and killing people. It is the rule that you're allowed to do it. It's like wearing sunglasses. There's a rule that says you can. I know I'm not going to beat someone over the head with my sunglasses. But my point is that like fire, you need heat, fuel, and oxygen. Take one of those away, and there isn't fire. Same thing with the gun, the use of the gun, and the situation. So you need a place and a situation where that becomes a viable option. So morals used to deter it, and what's changed was your question. What has changed, and we wish we knew? The world has changed. How much more change will there be? And what kind of trend is it looking at?
Go back 5,000 years to the ancient Babylonians and ask them, how much change do you think will be in your future?
Yeah.
See, the thing is this.
None?
5,000 years from now, we won't be able to recognize anything around us.
We couldn't even have a conversation with us today.
Yeah. It's crazy. I don't want to stop this short, but we only have a few moments, and there are two things I must mention, Dave.
Yep.
One is apparent COVID infections in Europe are going through the roof, with a projected another 500,000 people dead by March. If something isn't done, whatever, lockdown, I don't know what it is. Interestingly enough, though, vaccination rates are pretty high.
Yeah.
In Europe. Yeah, right. And yet, I mean, look, we weren't surprised that people get infected. We always said the vaccine doesn't stop the infection; it just makes it less bad. Or at least that's what they told us, right? If you're vaccinated, you're less likely to get really, really sick. That's what they said. I'm not giving medical advice. I'm just repeating the official line here. Okay.
That's right.
And another thing, and this is again not medical advice. I'm not putting any opinions out there now. I have to wonder though. I mean, if the vaccinations are as high as they are, and if the vaccines are making the disease less severe, then why are we projecting 500,000 extra deaths by March 2022 if something isn't done?
Yeah, that's right. So at the moment we've got weekly about 50,500 people dying from the virus. That's weekly. And if I go back all the way back to, say, a year ago, or actually further, this is September. September last year, we had about the same amount of people. So since then, while it's gone up and down, it's never gone and reduced lower than 50,500 deaths per week.
that should give us all food for thought. That's all I want to say, because I don't want the show not to be available for people.
I know, I completely understand, but like it's in a very same fashion where we have the the roller coaster effect of the numbers going up and down of cases, and the cases are still 3.5 million cases a week, and they're on the rise again.
Yeah. No, it's a thing, and the northern hemisphere is going into winter, right, which is never helpful.
And China has now started locking more and more places down.
Yeah,
because they've got some really hard times coming.
Yeah. So
and with the Winter Olympics looming, it might be tough times. Yeah.
Look, and that's the thing. I mean, look, this is not behind us. People all around me acting as though. I mean, look, again, I don't care which side of the argument you're on here, but what I say is, we're going to see more and more calls for more and more lockdowns. That's what I see in the future, in our future, and the vaccines. I mean, again, the official line was the vaccines will help us stop that. We will no longer have to do that. Clearly not true.
Well,
just
the
want to
tablet
put it out
now,
there.
Mackie, the $700 a dose Pfizer medication, which
the medication
arrests it. Yeah, that's right.
Right. So again, no, but I mean, is it a thing? Is it Soma? Is it Brave New World Soma? That's all I'm going to say. Sorry, let's get something a lot less controversial here.
Go
on.
Thank you,
Ghislaine Maxwell. Do you remember her?
Yeah, that's a lot less controversial.
So there's an article in the Rolling Stone today. In fact.
What does it tell us?
Yeah, so this is a Friday article, and this is the headline. Everybody's absolutely horrified. This is the headline. High society is bracing itself for Ghislaine Maxwell's trial. And the byline here reads, who will be revealed? Sorry, let me just... Okay. What will be revealed? Who might she name? Jeffrey Epstein's right-hand woman is going on trial for their alleged crimes, and those who used to know her can't stop talking about it. This is by Vicky Ward. She's a Rolling Stones reporter, and this is interesting. I want to quickly share this with you. So this is the article now, and this is obviously Vicky talking. I knew Maxwell slightly because I'm part of the expat British community in New York, so I ran into her from time to time over the years, and I know a good number of her friends, or former friends, I should say. So what are they saying amongst each other as she heads to trial? In the past year, I noticed something as I was reporting Chasing Ghislaine in ID Special, which premieres November 22nd on Discovery, and an Audible podcast of the same name. Hardly any of the people who went to drinks at her house or to dinners for Prince Andrew, many of the members of the British upper classes or American plutocracy, nice word, wanted to talk about Maxwell on the record. Again, hardly anyone wanted to talk on the record.
Wow.
Many of them professed that they were horrified, disgusted at the allegations she is charged with. One person who went to dinners that included Maxwell, Epstein, and Prince Andrew told me this. I can't remember the last time I heard anybody say, oh, poor Ghislaine, she should be allowed to say her story. I think everybody's absolutely horrified. Everybody's embarrassed that somebody in our broader circle of us could have been behaving in such a terrible way. But, it's the article, as I reached out again in the past week to her former friends, there were those, probably more than you think, who still, I don't wonder if she's really the monster she's been pictured in the media. Some wonder if she may yet prevail before a jury. Now, I don't think she's going to commit suicide. It's just my opinion.
Where are the tapes, mate? That's all I want to ask. All right, take care. This is David Mackey, Shiny Side Out. We'll catch you on the other side of this short break. Take the time to donate. We'll see you then.